Alright, so guys, I've said it time without number that Islam is not compatible with Western values in any way, shape or form. And over these past couple of days, we've seen proof of that. You know, we've seen jihadi thugs in Europe attack. You know, the first attack was against John Rudai in Germany, whereby he was, you know, protecting a woman that was being harassed. And then he was slashed in the face with a knife. Can you imagine that? These thugs, these jihadi thugs, you know, so reckless and so savage. And the second one we've seen in Switzerland, that a politician was jumped. And this is after, I believe, a 17-year-old immigrant was on the run from police on a stolen scooter. And then he went over a bump. I believe he died at the scene. And they jumped a Swiss politician there. So we've seen chaos, we've seen madness. I've said it time without number that Islam, it can't work. It just can't work. And reason being, Muslims will always pledge allegiance to their religion before they pledge allegiance to the land or the laws of the land that they're living in. So Islam comes first. It comes first. You know, Surah 9, verse 29. Surah 98 verse 6, you know, this comes first. And honestly speaking, nothing you say or do will ever change that. They will always look at their religion as their primary focus and they will act on it. But anyway, guys, let's get back to Mohammed Shah Jahan, because this was a terrorist that wanted to blow up the London Stock Exchange, you know, on Christmas Eve. And he's going to be out very, very soon. And he's going to be the problem. He's going to be a huge problem for people that live in Stoke. You know, I don't know why they are somehow allowing him out. You know, he should be deported, you know, after he's finished his sentence, or he should just be in jail. Well, to be fair, that's, you know, we'll be paying for him to be in jail. So maybe just deport him, just get rid of him, you know. And this is going to bring me on later on to Jonathan Liss, who's basically going to be saying that, you know, he was attempting to do it. He didn't actually carry it out. So we shouldn't just put people like that, you know, in jail forever. So you want him to carry out his act of terrorism before we lock him away for good. You don't need to wait. You know, he's letting you know what his motives are and he plans to act on it. You think that him being in jail for like, what, 16 years, you think that changes anything, or 15 years? It doesn't change anything. He's still gonna, in fact, he's gonna be even more dedicated now to his mission. Let's read a little bit of his overview before we get into the debate with Jonathan Liss just saying silly stuff. Mohammed Shah Jahan was the leader of a group of 9 men arrested in England on December 20th, 2010 in connection with an Al-Qaeda inspired plot to blow up the London Stock Exchange on Christmas Eve. The group sought to launch a coordinated bomb and gun attack on the London Stock Exchange and other targets in England in the style of the November 2008 attacks in Mumbai, India. Shah Jahan and co-conspirators Nizam Hussain and Usman Khan had also planned to set up a training camp in Pakistan for British militants. Shah Jahan pleaded guilty in 2012 to preparing an act of terrorism and was sentenced to 16 years in prison. He has since been released early after serving only half his sentence. And guys, here we have his date of birth, his place of birth, you know, residency, citizenship, when he was arrested, and custody. So why he's being released after serving half his sentence, I will never know. This is a joke, you know, of the justice system in the United Kingdom, and this should just not be okay. Anyway, guys, let's watch the bit with Jonathan Liss.
My name is Mohammed Shah Jahan. I'm 25 years old and I come from Stoke-on-Trent. Many people have called myself a radical, a fundamentalist, maybe a terrorist even sometimes. But if they say that I'm a terrorist because I'm calling for my faith, then fair enough. Doesn't mean nothing to me, because if anything, it shows that I'm on the footstep of the Prophet Muhammad, because he was called a terrorist, a fundamentalist as well.
So that was before any convictions, although again there was a way of knowing, wasn't there? But I don't think you. How can you compete with Allah?
Well, you can't. I'm fascinated whether anybody's done any background checks. Does he have dual nationality? Does anybody know? Is this an opportunity for the Labour government to actually be strong and say, we're going to strip you of your British nationality if you've got Pakistani or Afghani nationality, and you're gone?
Patrick, the point is that there are people who have been radicalised and have been de-radicalised. Some of them, to to become quite right-wing, actually, if you look in the media. And so I think that if we were to say that on no account can anyone who has been radicalised ever walk the streets again, I think that would be an overcorrection. Now, it's possible that sometimes the parole board, the government gets things wrong. I accept that, but I also think that we have to trust the judgment that the parole board has made, knowing or hoping they would have considered all the evidence.
Would you let him live with you?
Would I let him live with me? I don't know him, Patrick, so no.
You wouldn't let someone like that move in with one of your relatives, or because he's going to have to live somewhere, isn't he? He's going to have to live next door to someone. See, this is the thing. This is what I do think that people on the left don't bother to think about, which is that he is someone. He's quite possibly now Stoke's problem. Do you care about the people of Stoke?
I think that's a provocative question, Patrick. Of course I care about people in this country.
Have you been to Stoke?
Yes, I have, actually. I don't know why that's relevant either. There are plenty of places in the country that I haven't been to that I also care about, because I care about people and I'm part of this country and I care about the British people.
So it's okay for them to...
No, I don't know why you're putting words in my mouth.
Well, it has to live somewhere, doesn't it?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
So you're all right as long as he's not anywhere
Patrick,
near you?
as I've just said, we don't put people in prison for whole life sentences unless they've committed extraordinarily heinous crimes. Now, I'm not against whole life sentences per se. Clearly, he has not merited one in this case under the laws of this land. If you think that we should have whole life sentences for attempted atrocities, that's a conversation we can have.
Blowing up the London Stock Exchange and launching a widespread marauding gun attack, potentially across multiple different cities at the same time, I would argue is about as heinous.
Yes, but intent is not the same as execution under the law.
Grief.
It's not the same as attempted murder is not the same as murder.
Do you agree with that? What do you think, Bob?
Well, I just think, look, if you look into this guy's modus operandi, he tried to blow up the London Stock Exchange, but he had another idea. He wanted to set up a Pakistani training camp for Islamists in the UK. Why don't we let him do it? Off he goes. Send him to Pakistan. He's no longer our problem.
Well, on that note, there is a wider point here, which is about homegrown radicalisation. So, as far as I'm aware, this guy I think was born around the Stoke area, and we are seeing an increase in this, which is basically British-born jihadis. So, why is that, do you think? And how can we maybe stop that? Do you have any idea about why that might be happening?
I mean, yeah, even all the way back in the late 90s, we were being called Londistan because we had such a massive problem with Islamist radicalisation in the UK. I mean, it was literally a joke around Europe how bad we had it. I think we've seen less cases of this happening in recent years, mainly because we've jailed a lot of those people, because we cracked down on them really hard in the early 2000s. And that's why I'm so worried about the release of these people. It's not been that we've got really, really good at detecting terror attacks in a way we weren't 30 years ago. It's just that a lot of the people who were radicalised have been behind bars. Do I believe that those people should be walking the streets free to radicalise the new generation of people? No, I don't.
Well, what do you think about that issue of homegrown terrorists?
So, I mean, clearly this is a brilliant scoop that GB News have got. What I would be really interested to know is he actually still on licence? Because if he's on licence, then he will be monitored.
He will be.
Absolutely, he will be on licence.
Yeah, he is. I mean, we've got a statement from the Ministry of Justice.
Okay,
but yes,
great.
he is on licence.
That's really helpful.
Why do you think it is that so many British-born people are now Islamists?
Well, obviously, there's been a big radicalisation of a number of people who are vulnerable people, young people, such as Shamima Begum, for example, who I think should be allowed to come back here to serve trial.
I think, wasn't she?
Well, it doesn't. What are you saying? That's
not vulnerable, particularly. I would have thought.
Well, I think that a lot of young people might be clever and still vulnerable.
She just stuck around and got her results. She probably appeared in a local newspaper around Tower Hamlets saying how well she'd done at school.
I don't think that doing well in school precludes you from being a vulnerable young person who is susceptible to ideologies that can be quite alluring for some people by very charismatic people who are feeding them this bile. I mean, it's just people are people.
Guys, honestly speaking, it's people like Jonathan Liss and that mindset, that ultra-leftist mindset that's destroying the United Kingdom right now. No one feels safe. Everyone's on edge. No one trusts anyone. The people in Stoke are they're not gonna feel settled with him coming back to Stoke. You think people in Stoke are gonna be like, okay, he's monitored, so that's fine. Yeah, okay, they're monitoring him. UK can't even monitor the borders. You know, you're going to monitor a jihadi that's probably going to try his best to carry out the attack. Now, he's not going to be changed. In prisons in the UK, the brotherhood is very, very strong. It's not a joke. Even many prisons, there's been exposés of many prisons in the UK actually being run by the brotherhood. So the brotherhood run, the Muslim brotherhood, when I say brotherhood, they actually run the UK prisons. So he's just gonna come out even more radical, even more crazy. And now, unfortunately, it's gonna be the people in Stoke-on-Trent's problem, because this government don't know how to deal with criminals. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.